Welcome back to the stage, Cadence's President and Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Anirudh Devgan.
Hey, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. We have another exciting session. It's my pleasure to welcome another person that needs no introduction, CEO of Intel, Lip-Bu Tan. Lip-Bu, welcome home.
Yeah. Nice to be home.
Yeah. Oh, I was so happy when I heard that Lip-Bu is becoming CEO of Intel, because Intel is such a iconic, international brand, national treasure, and there's no better person than Lip-Bu to transform that company. So congratulations, Lip-Bu.
Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah.
I thought that I'd retire from Cadence.
Yeah.
I can just enjoy with the grandchildren.
Yeah.
And then last minute I was decided to do this.
It's fabulous for the entire industry. And Lip-Bu, of course, we worked together for so long. Okay, it's just a pleasure of my professional career, and we always talk about. I know it's very central to you, is the culture, right? The culture and also the transformation of Cadence culture that you led over the years. Of course, you have this long history working with startups, and culture is so important. So now, as you join Intel, this company going through some turmoil, what's your assessment of Intel culture, and what needs to be done there?
Yeah, first of all, I'm very, very happy to be here today.
Right.
And Cadence Live is one of my favorite events. I'm always looking forward to. I'm excited to be here, see so many, when I just walk in, see many familiar faces.
Yes.
And I thought I would give them a hug, but there's no time. So and,
we have time, Lip-Bu, we can do it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
At Intel, I think clearly I kind of lay out the focus on the company. And then I almost 15 years ago, when I doing Cadence the same way, really create the best products. And then back to that, focus on the product and delight the customer. Not just meet the customer requirement, but delight the customer. Go the extra mile for customer. And even more important, to build the trust with the customer. If you recall, we have many customer meetings. The key thing is really building the trust that the customer can trust us to deliver what they expect us to do. So that, I think, is extremely important culture, and also to enhance the ability to do both.
Yeah, I mean, the customer first is always critical, right? I have to tell you something, which is quite unique. So you just joined a few weeks ago, right, Intel?
Yes.
And the first day, same day is GTC, right?
Yes.
So first of all, Lip-Bu was at GTC, which is amazing to see, Jensen, and I know you have a great partnership. Jensen was here this morning, right?
Yes.
And then I meet some very important customer. It's probably one of Intel's biggest customer. I won't mention the name here.
Yes.
And this is Lip-Bu's first day, and I was talking to this is a very famous person also. And he says, yeah, I'm having dinner with Lip-Bu. So I know on Lip-Bu's very first day as Intel CEO, you already meet one of your most important customers.
Yes.
So it's good to see that, Lip-Bu.
Oh,
no different from I know you, so this is great.
Yes.
But the other thing, of course, customer first is critical, and also Lip-Bu is a big believer of basketball team,
Yes.
one team, to have the right team around you. But the other key thing is, of course, engineering culture, right?
Yes.
R&D, innovation, urgency in the. So there is some, and there's some reports in the press that, of course, you were on Intel board for some time, that you are not happy, or the Intel engineering culture needs to be turbocharged. So how are you looking at that to become like a more engineering-focused company? Because I know that's important to you, right? We always try to do R&D collaboration with customers. So how do you see that with Intel?
Yeah, so I think first thing I do is basically back to my focus, get the best products out. So I decided to have all the engineering leaders report to me so that I can really do deep dive. I always do deep dive, as you recall. Yeah. And that's how I learn where we need to improve. And also at the same time, the first, I just passed 6 weeks now. Yeah. So I survived the 6 weeks. And then clearly it's really focused on listen to the customer, and then also focus on engineering and where are we come short. So I asked the customer, how do you grade my products? Right. So I got some C, some F, just like Cadence when I started. And I took it to heart. And then the other part is, the company has such an iconic company, such a long history. Over the years, has built up a lot of layers of reporting. And so unless you go down to 6, 7 layers down, you don't get the real data. And then some of the real data, after you're presenting to the board, I was on the board for 2 years, then you're starting to see everything green. And the reality is not that good. So I think this kind of loss in translation, you just need to really double, triple down to understanding where the issue is, and so that you can understand what the customer frustration, the feedback, then we can correct that. So I think that, to me, is very, very important to hear from the customer. And then you're starting to realize how far you had to go. So I'm a big basketball fan. So if you really want to play well with basketball, unless you do one-to-one with LeBron James, then you know how much you have to step up to play the game. So if you don't have that, you're always very content with what you have, but it's not a championship team. So the other part is very important for me, is just to have that culture of being humble, listen to customer. Sometimes if you are too successful, you become so proud you're not listening. So it's very important to make sure that you listen, and at the same time, you try to put together an A team, and over time, that A team can really drive success. As a basketball team, you can win championship. So that's kind of my philosophy, and then slowly putting the right team, and then really can address the customer requirement.
And I know you already, I saw in the reports you already flattened the organization, right?
Yes.
Just immediately. So, and then I was in the afternoon, I was talking to some people, asking like, what should I ask Lip-Bu, right? So one request I got, I passed it along, Lip-Bu, which is connected to the engineering culture, is also, like you mentioned, is like how to, I'm sure you're focused on, rehiring or hiring some of the top talent, right? That's always a big focus of yours as you look at the engineering culture of Intel, right? Yeah.
Yeah, in some way, the last 6 weeks, and most of my time, first of all, I broke my own record. So I have 22 meetings a day. Oh, wow. And 2 dinner, and sometimes 3 dinner. Yeah. And the main reason I'm doing that, clearly, I asked all my top executives from Intel, past executives, what are the key talents, architect, the engineers, they are really good at, and then they all give me the list of people that I need to really reach out to them. So I asked about almost 20, and then 20 people, they give me all the different lists. So I'm starting to compile a list that combine everybody. Then I starting to program to meet every one of them. That's why I have 22 meetings. Yes. And so I think it's very important to make sure that you hold on to the good talent. And to be candid with you, we lost some good talents and over the years. And then so right now it's basically try to keep what I have. And then the other part is also spend a lot of time try to recruit the talent from outside and non-Intel and then outside, so that clearly identify where are the area architects or where the area in the engineering that I don't have the right one. Maybe a good player, but they are either kind of too young or maybe less experienced. Then I need to bring in somebody that are really proven, and then from the different culture, so that I can drive that. I call it the A0 to productions.
Yes.
I first time pass. I being a venture capital before, even during the time I was a CEO of Cadence, the board allowed me to do investment. And then likewise in Intel, I still want to do that because then you realize what are the big waves happening. The AI, the cloud, the mobile, all this big wave, you got to be really involved with the talent outside. So you really need to have that so that you can really attract some of the talent to come back in and to help you to developing the next generation product. But more important, besides designing it, you got to have to tape out. And that's where I think it's very important to have the discipline of the culture that the first time pass.
Yes.
You don't want to tape out the chip, and that's why the Palladium is very important. And then really verify what you design. Make sure that there's no bugs before you go to tape out. Like startup culture, every tape out, especially the advanced node, is 50, 60 million. So with that, you have to really the first time pass.
Right.
So that culture, over the time, I think Intel lost that. So I try to bring that culture back. Right. And then, of course, when you want to bring the culture back, you have to bring in some new talent that have that track record of first time pass to kind of bring in to really strengthen that.
I mean, one is the cost, of course, like you mentioned, of the tape out. But also, if there is too many iterations, then the time lost is invaluable, right?
Miss the window.
Yeah, it's missed the window.
Yes.
And that could be worth a lot. So, in terms of, in terms of AI, okay, that's a big topic, of course. And all these numbers, like the projections are semiconductor itself will reach 1.2 trillion, more than 1 trillion.
That's right.
The systems market, electronic systems, will be like 5 trillion. By 2035, semiconductor may be 2.5 trillion. Okay, and a lot of it is driven by AI, which is touching in different parts of the not just on the cloud, on the edge, as you know, on laptops and automotive, and of course Intel is a key player in all of these things. So what do you think about the AI strategy of Intel? Right, it's such an important topic, of course.
Yes.
I'm sure you spent a lot of time on that in the first 6 weeks. Right?
Yeah, I think clearly, the AI is driving all the semiconductor growth. The workload have changed a lot more into the AI, and then so I think it's very important for Intel to redefine our AI strategy. And then before I came over to Intel, I invest a lot in the AI.
Yes.
And not only in the silicon side, and also on the, I call it the software 2.0 on the AI, driving the new initiative, and also some of the application. And then because of the massive data, and then how do you use AI to drive more accurate data and then result, and then optimize for the solution. So I think that part, is Intel is missing that. Give credit to Jensen, he done a fabulous job. And then I used to look at Jensen and NVIDIA is a GPU company. And then now he really driving, become the leader of the AI. And that I think give him credit. And he also built the CUDA software.
Yes.
And this industry, nobody can go without the CUDA. So I think with that understanding, it's very important to look at what we have. We have the CPU. We have some of the benefit CPU. For the PC client, we still have 70%, 68% of the market share. And then in terms of the data center, even though we're losing some opportunity, but we still have 50% market share. So the ecosystem is there.
Yes.
But we just need to, how do we embrace the AI to make it better as a solution? So in a way, I kind of focus on how do we intercept some of the customer requirement, and then in the whole agentic AI, physical AI, I think some of them you talk quite a lot about it, and then how do we embrace that, and then using the system approach and the software approach, I call it the software 2.0, define the silicon, and also meet up some of the big platform. We want to be their compute platform that we optimize to their solutions. So I'll give you an idea. And then earlier days, I invest in a company called Annapurna Lab.
Oh, of course.
It's a big customer
Yes,
of yours
yes,
now.
yes, yes.
And then you become part of Amazon. And then the team, the same team that I back, they are still at Amazon. And then clearly, they really drive that whole purpose-built silicon optimized for the Amazon solution. So again, right now there's a couple of big platforms. They are all dying to have some purpose-built silicon. Can we play that role? And then from the system level and define it, and then also look out the software requirement, and then the silicon optimize their application. So those are the opportunity. I think we see that. And also I think potentially using our Foundry to really drive some of the efficiency. I think those are kind of my interest of, we really had to have a game plan for the AI.
Right.
So even though it's 5-6 weeks, I already starting, I'm putting a team, I'm recruiting the team to really do that. And so I think stay tuned. And then of course, Cadence can help me to drive some of this efficiency, the optical solution, solution to serve the purpose.
I think, Lip-Bu, what you say is very interesting because you already have a franchise business with x86, right?
Yes.
And AI, and this is slightly different than what Intel has done before. So what you're saying is Intel is more, let's say, flexible to work with the top customers because they are doing some of their own chips.
Yes.
But if AI requires a purpose-built, domain-specific activity, so Intel will be open to, especially with the big customers, to do it. But this is it's a big change, right, from the past, right? Yeah. Because
in some way, it's kind of using our strength, our market position, to move into some of the AI initiative.
Yes, yes.
And then I was early investor in Habana.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then I sold it to Intel.
Yeah.
And then now we figure out, this Gaudi chip, how can we, utilize and modify that so that we, first to market is very important. You don't want to develop a chip, it takes 2-3 years to kind of come out. And it's very important to have some shorter term way to get there. And then the other part is some of the investment I make, in terms of the AI initiative. And then we may just partnership with them or license the technology and eventually maybe even acquire them so that we become our solution going forward. So the goal is basically you want to have every year have one AI chip coming up and then driving different performance, different application.
Right.
I think that's kind of my goal of focus on it and then drive efficiency. And in some way, I try to create a separate team, basically like startup within Intel. And I have a culture of, isolate from the other part of the business so that they can move faster and faster to the market and have more discipline to drive the efficiency. As you know, when you have a startup model, you move much faster. You don't have so many review, so many people decide whether this one is the right one or not. So in some way, you have to take some bet and make sure that those are really good bet and then holistically approach to our portfolio and then in some way optimize some of our solution to meet the customer requirement.
Oh, super exciting. It's good. And another big topic, Intel is so big and it's like so critical to a lot of areas. The other big topic, and I want to talk to you about, of course, chip design and EDA and IP and hardware. But before we get there in terms of what Intel and Cadence can do, the other big topic I'm sure everyone wants to know is, what are your thoughts on Intel Foundry? What are the unique opportunities? I know you had a big Foundry day last week. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Glad to be there. So what's your thoughts on, you want to share on Intel Foundry? Right.
Sure. First of all, thank you for coming to my stage together on the Intel Vision Foundry event. And I know there's a earning call, but you managed to come over to support me. Thank you for that.
Customer first.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And so clearly, I think we have a unique opportunity. We have a leading, is the only United States domestic advanced technology process design, R&D, and manufacturing in the Intel Foundry. So I think that is a good advantage for us. And then the other part is clearly, customer also looking for kind of flexible, resilient, secure, foundry. I think we can play that role. And then the other part is also, really pleased to see that Trump administration really support the American technology and manufacturing leadership. So I think we have the support to do that. I think that clearly my laser focus is to really make sure that our 18A yield is improved to production viable. And then because our internal customer need that, Panther Lake, we need that. And then the other part is also, I really want to build kind of a trusted foundry. I call it the system foundry, system approach. And I also embrace and then the industry standard EDA and also the IPs. And so in some way, as you know, every customer, they have their own unique design style and design methodology and their favorite EDA tool. You don't tell the customer you have to change your EDA tool. So in a way, you want to really embrace what they have been using. And over time, you can introduce some better idea. And so I think rather than build our own custom EDA tool, I should be embracing the industry standard. That's why I think, I reach out to all the EDA players to support me on doing that. And also, I think it's more important to meet the customer requirement as a trusted partner. Right. And then we want to be really, it's a service business. Absolutely. So you need to really service a customer very effectively, on time, on delivery, and then with a reliable, predictable yield. And that I think we have to learn. And then this is an industry of service industry that we have to support that. And I think overall, the feedback on customer is quite positive. The other part we're also very good is we have some unique advanced packaging technology. The EMIC and also 3D stacking. And then, so I think those will be kind of interesting that we can bring to the customer. These are few options that you can really believe, and then we can deliver some high quality, reliable, yield so that they can use that. So we are working towards that. And again, something that we can collaborate together to support our customer.
Because I think one thing you mentioned, which is key, and which I know you know already, but like one is the foundry, the base technology, like 18A.
Yes.
How well the transistors work, how well the backside metal work, but also is the enablement.
Yes.
The tools, the IP, the flows, optimized for, ARM cores or critical IPs or GPUs. So that I feel like, and like our friends in Taiwan have done a great job over like 15 years, right, to optimize this full flow. So how do you see that? I mean, is that something Intel needs to do more? Of course, have standard flows, but really invest in the ecosystem. I guess that's why you putting more focus on. But it'll be good to get your thoughts on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just have to be really focused. And in fact, Cadence is a great partner for us. And in some way, the 15 years at Cadence also give me the advantage. So in some way, I know the pattern recognition, where are the customer prefer route and their way of design methodology, so that we can really work together and then serve the customer better. And then I think overall, at the end of the day, for Foundry, you really need to kind of build that kind of reliability, the yield, performance for volume production, because it's critical for the customer. And the customer, their revenue depend on our production. And so in some way, whatever we design using the EDA tool and IP, at the end of the day, if we come to the foundry, we have to deliver. If we miss the yield or we miss the schedule, they get affected by the revenue. And so those are a lot of responsibility for our side. And that's why I always want to be humble and learn from the customer, and most important, deliver on time, on quality, and that kind of building the trust that we emphasize that.
Oh, makes sense. So Lip-Bu, also, one thing which is big, so we heard from you on the AI strategy, about the foundry, but of course the execution of that is super critical, right? How well the PPA is there, well the schedule is there for all these, whether it's internal projects or project with major customers or foundry products. So of course you are very familiar with the chip design flow, right? And there's a lot of innovation in that with AI, with new tools like Millennium, with Palladium, Cerebrus, Verisium. So how do you see that to adopt these tools, and how can Cadence and Intel work together to turbocharge this cultural change, this focus on best product, and how important is the design flow in your mind?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. First of all, I want to congratulate to you. You're using AI to drive some of your tool productivity. I still remember when I was there, it's like 15-20% improvement in PPA using the AI machine learning to drive those. I think you have across all the product have the AI-driven
five major
result.
Yes.
And then please teach us and share with us how can we serve our customer better that way. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to work together.
Right.
And then we can learn from each other. And then you also can help us. And I always remember, for the most advanced development, you cannot just throw your design and then to the foundry, they can just make it work. And I think that three-way partnership with the customer to make sure customer successful, that is important for both of us to work together. And I think that's, I call it is the first time pass success, and the opportunity is higher if we both work closer together. And then accelerated high performance result on time delivery, that's critical for the customer. So I think all in all, I think same thing with the packaging side.
Yes.
You have a lot of technology that we can learn from you, and then how we help us to improve our yield, improve our design, and then the internal customer and also the customer we want to support. I think that's a win-win for both.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, there are a lot of areas like Palladium, first time, right? Of course, using AI, digital flow, verification flow to improve the product PPA. It can be almost as big as one technology node, right? If the right optimizations are done. And also packaging, Intel has such a rich history, right? And I know you have several. I talked to one other big customer. They're doing a lot of packaging with you. And packaging, one big thing, as you know, is like all this simulation of thermal simulation, electromagnetic simulation. So not just Integrate and Allegro, and today we launched Millennium, which can accelerate all this. Yeah, thank you.
Even have orders.
Yeah, it's great.
On the spot.
So I think there is a lot that can be done to kind of revolutionize the internal execution of the design flow, right? At a company like Intel. And then, you talk about like system foundry, right? That goes beyond wafers to like a full stack platform. So how do you see that so there's one on the product side, right? We can do a lot of improvement. And of course, some of the things are common on the foundry side, but what do you see this whole 3D stacking, system foundry, and what is needed to enable that on the foundry side, which is similar but different, like IP requirements are different, and we need to have a reference flow, we need to have examples,
Yeah, again, that's an area that I think we both can collaborate and serve our customer better, our internal customer, also external customer. And then the other part, clearly, we can really drive some new technology together. Like the 18A, we really depend on the EDA support. And then we also have some really unique ribbon fed and gate-all-around transistor technology, and also the backside power. And then that can be a very unique situation that we have at Cadence. But we really need to help customer to design better and with your tool, and so that we can really, at the end of the day, serve our customer together. And then, so I think that great opportunity that we can work together, and then so that we can really benefit the customer.
Lip-Bu had several sayings, quotes at Cadence. One famous quote just is, one Cadence, one team, right? So Lip-Bu is a big believer of one team concept, right? And I think and we used to do that, like you said, three-way with some customers, with the foundry and the customer. And I think this is a unique opportunity. We can be one, especially on the, definitely on the product side, but also on the foundry side,
Yes.
one team with Intel as you go after these big customers.
That's right. I think the collaboration and partnership is very important success formula. And then the other part, just back to my own Intel side, is very important. Sales and engineering, they work side together as a team. And then rather than pointing finger at each other, you discount too much, and then your product suck.
That never happens, right?
It never happened. Exactly. So I think it just had to work as one team.
Yeah.
And right now I'm impose that into my Intel team. And every meeting with the customer, I want the engineering and the sales team. They both tell me where we are, so that we make sure that we, on engineering side, know what the schedule going to deliver, what kind of quality performance we are expecting. And so the salespeople are also going to be presenting under promise, over delivering, that kind of delight the customer. The worst thing you want is you over promise and then your product suck, and also the schedule you keep missing. Yes. Then you have a big problem,
Okay, that's great. We look forward to doing a lot more. We are waiting for this opportunity for a long time to do a lot more with Intel. We're so delighted that. And good thing is, the industry trends, what works, what the other players are doing. And, Lip-Bu, good thing is that he still is friends with all the companies that, whether they're your partners or competitors, you're still friends with all of them. So you know what they're doing, so this is great, yeah. Now, I think, Lip-Bu, changing a little bit, like you mentioned that, like when you're Cadence CEO and now Intel CEO, you still have the vantage point of investor VC. And of course, you're one of the most successful investors in general, especially in semiconductors and electronic systems. So what do you see there? What is the emergent technology from the startup ecosystem, from the VC ecosystem, and then how does it align with like Intel direction going forward?
Yeah, this is very exciting. Clearly, this, the AI is just changing the landscape. Only a few times you see a big wave, and sometimes the wave is very big, and you don't want to miss the wave. If you miss the wave, you miss the whole thing. So I think it's very important to keep an eye on what is, on the horizon, what is developing. So you can clearly see that, the AI and agentic AI is changing so fast. You look at, the open AI, how quickly they get into 100 million users. Now it's almost 600 million users. And so I think, the speed of adopting to the new technology is so amazing. And then recently I was talking to a friend of mine. They're talking about this whole agentic AI and then the reasoning model, and it's happening. And you have agent, and then the agent.
Yeah.
And then so in the way that you really help you to really drive a lot of your daily routine, and even in some way, you also less and less depend on the programmer to program now. And you can, really using the agent to do that. So I think this is a game-changing, and it's a very big wave, and then it's a lot to do with the software now. And so I think in some way, I think you just have to look at this whole horizon change. How can we intercept, from the silicon point of view, from the tool point of view, how do we drive these changes? And then, so I think in some way, there's so much data, massive data generated every day.
Right.
And then how do you use that for your own benefit? And then in a quicker way to drive result that you want and convert the result much quicker. And I think you see that from your tool, how much improvement you're using AI machine learning.
Yes.
And then drive, and actually not just drive your own internal efficiency, you help your customer to drive efficiency.
Right.
And I think that tremendous opportunity, especially we moved down I call it, recently at this one conference call I have, people talk about tariff to tokens now.
Yes,
so
yes.
token is the real new way of
That's the more important T word, right?
Exactly, And so I think that's something that's exciting. And then being a venture business, I've been in a venture business more than 40 plus years. And so I see a lot of changes. I involved with 500 startup company. And then I have some, maybe very lucky, I have 145 IPO. I don't think there's any VC can claim that.
It's amazing.
And then the other part is, I invest in 251 fabless semiconductor company. So that gives me a little bit flavor of that.
Of course.
Now I try to bring that discipline to Intel. And so it's something that we'd love to work with you and then really drive some of the success together. And then more important is create a few big platform that we all can enjoy.
Absolutely, we love to do that. One thing, and of course, this space, the investing space and the whole new startups very, very well, like you said. One thing I noticed recently is that there is big funding going into robotics and this physical AI, right? Even like on the hardware side, but also on these AI models, like these word models, like even NVIDIA and Jensen talks about it, of these new kind of LLMs, new AI for the physical world. And then, and we have discussed this, I know, for some time, cars, robots, drones, and it could be as big or bigger than the cloud part and the PC part, which I know will be important to Intel, like you mentioned, the data center and the PC, okay. But at the same time, there's this new physical AI, and I know there's mobile AI, right? That's a big in there. So what's your thoughts on that? Is that something you are, like both from an investing standpoint and also Intel standpoint, what's your views on the physical AI part of it?
Good question.
Yeah.
Clearly from generative AI to agentic AI,
Right.
it's already happened right now. And then I think the physical AI is the next wave. And I think it makes a lot of sense because it used to be the robotics, you just teach the robot to one trick each time, right? To pick up something, put it somewhere else, and then with precision. But now, the robotics can be almost like another human being. And then because we call it the humanoid. And then in the way that you have all the AI software, agentic AI, and then give that intelligence, they can reasoning, and they can reinforce learning, and then they can do multiple tasks, not just one task. So in the way that the robots can learn and then do different functions just like human being. Now the only part that I don't see it yet is the emotional part. So I think that emotional part may become later on, but right now
some humans don't have the emotional part.
that is true. That is true. But anyway, I think the potential is huge. And then you can see that, like Tesla is a good example. They have a lot of humanoid. And as you and I were involved with CMU. CMU have, they are very strong in robotics. And then that's why, there's a lot of new coming out. And it's so exciting, some of the startup. And then from the Warden side, we also make, 3 investment in this area. And then in some of the industrial application and in some other different application. Then the other part I'm very excited is the medical. And, if we look at the, intuitive surgical, and then our good friend is a chairman there. So how they drive that whole, with precision in terms of a heart surgical operation, and that is amazing. And then how much AI and robotics able to help the human being, sometimes may not be just completely run by themselves, still need to have human judgment call, but it helps a lot in terms of human going to be more accurate and address the issue. So I think this part is a big area of exciting to me. And I was so excited about it because I joined the executive council at UCSF. And then it really gave me a lot of opportunity. And I invest some of the company, like Altera AI. All of us, when we get older, I think it's clearly going to have some prostate cancer issue. And then, if you look at the PSA test, 4K test, it's only 35% accurate. So I decided to back a professor and oncologist, and he's expert in prostate cancer, and then basically able to deliver 92% accurate in terms of the way you diagnose it, and then the way you treat it, and then how frequently you treat it, and you don't want to be overdosed that you affect your life. So I think those things is so exciting that less than 1 year and 3 months, unheard of, they get the national guidance approval. And less than 2 years, we got the medical insurance paying $750 per test. And then now we're going to looking forward this year to the FDA approval. And the next thing, they are not stopping there. Now they're doing breast cancer, liver cancer, colon cancer, and neck and head cancer.
Oh, wow.
Boy, to me, I think it's just a huge platform, and they have the data. And then likewise, the other one, even more exciting for me, is called Echo Neurotechnologies, still in the stealth mode. You know, I invest with a couple of the other good friends. And this is Eddie Chen. He is the top neurosurgeon. And I get to know him, become a very good friend. He's a neighbor to me. And he said, I said, I hope one day I don't need to come to visit you, but you're fascinating. And he said, Lip-Bu, come to my lab, take a look at what I have. And then basically using AI machine learning, and then able to address helping the Parkinson patient to 80% accurate to communicate without keep punching the keyboard, like Steve Hawking did. So basically using semiconductor, using sensor, doing the brain wave to interpret the brain, how the brain communication. Then the next thing I know, in a very short time, I introduced him all the, the semiconductor company to help him to build that system. And he said, Lip-Bu, I'm going to build, can you help me to help the chief architect for AI? I said, what do you need the chief architect AI for software? He said, Lip-Bu, I'm going to build the decoder of a brain as a foundation model of the brain. I said, I mean, you can have a foundation brain mirror image to my brain, and then how I'm going to communicate, you can more accurately, digitally, this is something that I never think of can be happen. And just because of the massive data we have, and using AI machine learning, the advanced, thanks to Jensen, all the compute power that he's able to generate, and then able to help that. And he's not stopping that. Now he's move into, this different part of the brain. That's why I learned a lot. This part, may be for communication. This part is for vision. And then the other part is for reasoning. So he said, Lip-Bu, I'm going to help the depression patient. I'm going to help the Alzheimer and then epilepsy. I said, boy, I mean, you're going to be a Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah.
And in the late 40s, you still an amazing, this is something that, got me so excited. And I know you bought a company called, OpenAI.
Yeah.
And a lot of pharmaceutical companies are using it, double, triple down on it, because this is something that I think the world needs. And also in some way, besides we're doing business, you help the human population.
No, we are all in. As you know, we discussed the 3 phases of AI so many times, the infrastructure phase, the physical AI phase, and then the sciences AI, and a lot of it will be life sciences.
Yes.
It will be biology. I mean, there will be other sciences too, but that is the biggest potential.
Opportunity.
And also those things, like we do simulation there now and AI, I mean, a lot of them are Schrodinger equations.
Yes.
They need a lot of compute.
Yes.
Of course, in circuits, we do Maxwell equations and all that. Schrodinger sometimes even much more complicated.
Right.
So the compute, right,
Yes.
is a requirement is much higher along with AI, and then the huge impact, like you're saying, to
That's
society.
right.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of them, if I have a spare time, I'll work on it. I have a very good friend of mine. He have a brain tumor.
Oh, no.
And, this very aggressive one. And then I then starting to study, because a friend is very dear to me. And I study only 1% of the patient on this brain tumor survive in 5 years. 1%.
Oh.
And then he is actually the number 18 to get the treatment called CAR-T, C-A-R-T. And then this is basically you inject the immune system, changing and then creating a different way to treat to kill the cancer. And it's fascinating to me. And it's, this treatment, only 18 people in the United States able to afford to even pay for this. And I said, boy, I mean, it would be great. This one can make it more available for the population. Yeah. I think that will help a lot. So again, back to the point is basically using AI machine
Yes.
learning, and then with all the biopsy that you get, and then using clever architecture to drive that. I think that's the big frontier from the EDA, from the semiconductor company. How can we play a role? So back to my point, you really need to look at the solution, what the problem you try to solve, and then you work backward,
Yes.
and then what kind of a system, software, the silicon, and then with the tool to optimize for it, and then make it happen. So I think that, to me, that drives me exciting.
That's good. That's great. So Lip-Bu, some personal question now. We don't have much time, but so you have these multiple things, long-term things like we talked about, and then of course there's short-term things of earnings call and delivery. So how do you balance that in this kind of,
Good question. Everybody asking me that.
Yeah.
So
I know you swim every day. I hope you're still swimming every day.
still swim every day,
Yeah.
and gym every day. And then, a friend of mine, he said, finally, Lip-Bu, I found your secret. I said, what's the secret? Can you share with me? He said, I know that you have two twin brothers. He said, the one I have dinner is very quiet. That's your twin brother. And the other one is kind of a little bit more talkative.
Yeah.
So, that's my answer. But joking aside, I think clearly, I always feel that, we all have 24 hours. We cannot have 48 hours. So I think God is fair. So we just give us 24 hours. So I think the best thing is, running company or doing things that I like to do. It's very important you try to judge, do you need to be in this meeting? And if you don't have this meeting and you have no value to add, you just cancel the meeting. So that's kind of my style at Cadence.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I applied that to Intel. And so I want to make sure that, before they kind of load up with
Yes.
a lot of meeting for you.
Yes.
But you have to decide what meeting you should attend. The rest, you can empower the team to do it. So in some way, you try to be more efficient that way. And the other part is, I always encouraging younger generation, when we do the mentorship. I think it's very important to advise them that you want to keep that curiosity in mind and continue to learn. And if you don't continue to learn and adopt, then you kind of stagnant. And so I think in some way I'm kind of happy to see some role model, and then even though they retire from executive, they are playing a different role, and either helping the government or helping the industry to create the new industry. That to me, I think is kind of exciting and very encouraging for all of us to do that. And then in some way, stay humble, work hard. And then I always
That's your landmark, yeah.
I always admire you have a PhD from CMU. So finally, this weekend, I'm going to have the honorable PhD.
I heard that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so in some way,
Yeah.
I get the consolation prize because I'm too old to get a PhD now, even though I finished all my class
Yes.
at the nuclear engineering.
Right.
But because I decided 3 Mile Island accident, there's no nuclear power plant built.
Right.
So I didn't finish. And then the MIT asked me to invite me back to the advisory board. And
It's
because
okay, Lip-Bu, CMU better than MIT.
yes,
And that's very prestigious, to get an honorary degree. And you're giving the commencement speech, right?
Yeah, for the PhD student.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think, long story short,
yeah.
I'm not as smart as you, but I get an honorable, degree without getting the PhD.
Right. Oh, this is fabulous. Lip-Bu, we can talk for a very long time, but I know you had, we are out of time now, but you had a board meeting today. So thank you for taking time to come. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Cadence. We wish all the best to Intel. We'll work hard, one team, to make Intel successful. And
Together with Cadence. We make it
Exactly,
together.
yes. Thank you, Lip-Bu.
Thank you.